In all fairness, systematizing a doctrine of divine forgiveness from the Quran and Hadith is difficult. In the Quran, Allah's forgiveness is capricious and seated firmly on the foundation of Islam's explicit fatalistic theology. Some examples from the Quran in Surah 5:18, Allah forgives whom He wills, and He punishes whom He wills. Surah 7:178, whoever Allah guides, He is the rightly guided, and whoever He sends astray, it is those who are the losers. In Surah 42:8, and if Allah willed, He could have made them of one religion, but He admits whom He wills into mercy. The companions of Muhammad struggled with fatalism, posing questions to Muhammad about the necessity of good works and prohibiting bad works if one's destiny is already determined. It seems on the issue of forgiveness, Muhammad struggled as well. In the Hadith, he devised many methods not mentioned in the Quran for trying to achieve forgiveness. His approach varies wildly, seemingly the product of existential struggle at times, and at other times an incoherent maze of conflicting ideas. Muhammad devised various invocations, for example, in Bukhari 64:05. Allah's messenger said, whoever says, Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi 100 times a day will be forgiven all his sins, even if they were as much as the foam of the sea. Prior to Muhammad's death, he repeated this phrase frequently. In Bukhari 34:67, while a dog was going around a well and was about to die of thirst, an Israeli prostitute saw it and took her shoe off and watered it. So Allah forgave her because of that good deed. Sometimes forgiveness is elusive, other times it's as simple as watering a dog. Muhammad did retain a form of one element of hamartology from Allah's book, however: expiation, the act of making amends before God for wrongdoing. Sahih al-Bukhari 72:13, whoever commits any of those sins and receives the legal punishment in this world for that sin, then that punishment will be an expiation for that sin. Muhammad saw punishments under Islamic law as expiatory. This explains in part their swift and harsh application. Lashings, beatings, and amputations are common for mild offenses. Muhammad even said he would cut off the hand of his own daughter if she stole, in Sahih al-Bukhari 67:87. These punishments are another barrier Muhammad erected between the Ummah and the uncertain doctrine of divine forgiveness. Ultimately, the wildly varying views on Allah's forgiveness led Muhammad to uncertainty about whether even he would be forgiven and admitted into paradise. Muhammad arrives to the scene of a funeral, and a woman proclaims the piety of the man who had just died. In response to this, Muhammad says in Sahih al-Bukhari 39:29, by Allah, I wish him good too, but by Allah, I do not know what Allah will do with me, though I am Allah's apostle. Dr. Khan, the translator of my volumes of Sahih al-Bukhari, notes of this hadith that obviously Muhammad knew that he will be in paradise, or it is a mistake in conveying the wording. In the entirety of the 9 volumes of Sahih al-Bukhari that Dr. Khan translated, this is the only hadith he felt compelled to add a footnote, explaining that Muhammad actually meant the opposite of what he said. Though I have great respect for his credentials, other than his use of the word obviously, Dr. Khan fails to marshal any evidence from his vast knowledge of the Hadith and Hadith commentaries to substantiate his claim. Thus I conclude exactly what the text says, and what Imam Bukhari wrote in the 9th century. Muhammad was not sure if he would be forgiven and allowed into paradise. As the woman to whom Muhammad was speaking understood, I will never assert the piety of anyone after him. Muhammad's uncertainty was not limited to paradise. He was not even sure if he would escape immediate punishment after his death. In Sahih al-Bukhari 1372, Aisha narrates, after that I never saw Allah's messenger, but seeking refuge with Allah from the punishment in the grave in every prayer he prayed. To conclude, suspense becomes a sort of divine attribute in Islamic soteriology. Muslims, like their prophet, live in uncertainty, only to discover on Judgment Day their eternal fate, preordained for them by Allah. Their theology leads them ultimately to cling as tightly to Islamic law as possible and hope for the best.